Okay, well, there actually is a lot of evidence-based stuff on this mind-body medicine. This is the base model that everybody needs. Like, nobody can skip the detox or skip the gut healing, But then there's certain things that, maybe this person has terrible insomnia or crippling anxiety or whatever it is. And then we have to find those missing spots and like fine-tune it to them. And you have this bank of knowledge, right, through your work, through your studies. And then you just kind of lean into being present with the person of which tools are we going to pull extra for this person, right? And usually it works amazing. My thing is it holistic? Is it effective? And is it safe? And if it meets those three things, I'm probably in. I'm in on it, but I don't like giving people stuff and going, well, it should work. I like giving people things that I have seen clinically give the results, in a reasonable amount of time. The first thing I always say is if you're eating like a standard American diet, there's no shame in it, right? But we have to clean up the diet. And the first thing to do is just stop going to the drive-thrus. If you're hitting fast food, cut out the fast food. Let's just start there, right? Because it's going to feel overwhelming if you try to do everything at once. Okay, cut out the fast food. Then you want to cut out the processed food. Like, does it come in a bag, in a box? Does it have a long paragraph explaining what it is and what some of that stuff is, right? There's an app, Bobby approved, that a lot of the clients like using that to help them pick what's good. And then I have everybody eat less often because we have a problem with insulin resistance these days, right? So one of the keys is we need to wean down that insulin resistance. So that's why people do so well with the intermittent fasting, right? That helps with the insulin resistance. I'm actually not getting political, but I'm very happy about a lot of the things that RFK Jr. has done, because it's a lot of stuff that I've been saying for decades, like, well, why do we do that? Like, why do we feed the kids that? Or why do we do this? And so I like, because even with some of these bigger scale things, like, so for instance, this is my dream, that we take the seed oils out of the marketplace, right? One of the main problems with eating out is that everything's cooked in seed oil, and that's going to push everything to the inflammatory side, right? And I think a lot of people don't even know about that. But could you imagine if we just took that out of the equation, like how much healthier the American people would be?
Is something standing between you and your happiness? It was for me. I had to face my depression and the constant negative self-talk. Therapy helped me realize I deserve to be happy. That's why this podcast is called I Choose Health, because I made the choice to heal, and I want to share that with you. As a gift to you, we've partnered with BetterHelp as our sponsor to help you start your own healing journey. We all face moments when life feels overwhelming, whether it's stress, anxiety, or just feeling stuck. Talking to someone can make a real difference. And that's where our sponsor, BetterHelp, comes in. BetterHelp offers professional online therapy that's convenient, affordable, and entirely on your schedule. You can connect with a licensed therapist by video, phone, or even chat, whatever works best for you. Let our sponsor, BetterHelp, support you on your journey to better mental health. You can get 10% off your first month by going to betterhelp.com/iChooseHealth. That's betterhelp.com/iChooseHealth for 10% off your first month. Take the first step toward feeling better today.
As a teenager, I decided to live better, so I gave up the meat, eggs, and cheddar. At 20 and 30, I wanted more, so I strengthened my mind and my core. Living a life that is healthier and wealthier because I choose health.
So on this show, we value especially holistic health, and that's just been something I've always been around for pretty much my entire life. Growing up Seventh-day Adventist, we were very familiar with either vegetarian or vegan eating, or just making sure that we were quote unquote in the right relationship with God. So we were always thinking about health holistically. And so as you've noticed on this show, we've always had people on with varying health backgrounds or perspectives. And so, I'm excited to have our guest today, Dr. Melanie Icard, who's herself a naturopath. And so I'm really excited to get into her understanding and her perspective of alternative health. I just want to welcome Dr. Melanie Icard to the I Choose Health podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Yes. So, Dr. Melanie, I know that your journey into holistic medicine began during your pregnancy. And, has been deeply influenced by the loss of your mother at a young age. Can you elaborate on how these profound experiences shaped your commitment to ensuring your child to ensuring your child and by extension your patients never experience similar pain?
Absolutely. So I didn't grow up healthy with holistic health like you did. I kind of grew up
Mhm.
regular, like once in a while, we would go to McDonald's. Like no one was thinking about being healthy that much back then. But
Mhm.
my mother got breast cancer at a really young age at 33. She was when she died. Maybe she got it when she was 32.
Mm.
And I was 11 when she passed away. And if you've ever had a loved one or yourself sick with cancer, it's a process, right? So my mother had a baby. So actually, I never even went to school, fifth and sixth
Mhm.
grade, because I stayed home and took care of my mother and her baby as she was going through this cancer and these cancer treatments. And it just seemed to me as a child that knows nothing that it was just debilitating and that the treatments were debilitating and the end was that she did pass away, right? And not only was it going through that, but then being a child and being a girl that was then didn't have a mother and got shipped literally across from Alaska to Mexico, if you can imagine. I
Mm.
literally
Wow.
moved from Alaska to Mexico to my dad, who was, lovely but clueless, right? And then I got shipped around to different aunts. So I've never had, it just seems like I had a loving mom up to that point, but moms seem to like have your back and love you and always be into you. So I missed that, growing up, right? And when I got pregnant, I thought, um, well, I don't want my son to lose his mom. That's what I want.
Mhm.
I want to be healthy. So how can I change this health trajectory? Because when I was growing up, I was like 100% sure that I was going to die young. That was like in the back
Mm.
of my mind all the time. I'm going to die young. I'm going to die young. And thank to God, my dad was actually a bit of a health nut. So he was
Mhm.
juicing. He wouldn't eat for 10 days. I thought it was the strangest thing. We described him as ranting and raving about just, stuff that no one was talking about, like whole wheat and, the dangers of like these
Mhm.
additives that we all kind of know about now, right? And so when I got pregnant, I went to my dad and I said, please teach me how to be healthy because I don't
Mm.
want this kid to lose his mom like I did.
Do you think that your dad, well, I mean, you would know, was your dad like that prior to your mom passing? Like into health like that?
Yeah, I think he dabbled in that because he's actually a really cool guy. My dad, he's a real out of the box kind of guy, entrepreneur. He was doing Tony Robbins and different little workshops. So I think he met a lady at a workshop that was a holistic health pioneer. So he
Mhm.
would dabble in it, from when I was even younger. And we just, we thought he was, we thought the food he was feeding us was disgusting. And, we didn't get it. And he didn't
Yeah.
try to explain it to us. He's just like, this is good.
But Dr. Icard, I know you started in respiratory therapy before becoming a naturopath. And what insights did your initial training in conventional medicine provide? And how did it inform your eventual transition and approach to naturopathic care?
Yeah, well, I actually loved being a respiratory therapist. It fit with my personality really well because I'm kind of a lone wolf kind of person, but I like to kind of like buzz in and buzz out of being part of a group, and
Uh-huh.
that's literally anyone out there that's a respiratory therapist, they're gonna be like, yeah, that's it, right? And the best thing that I got from that experience was I am great in a crisis because you don't want respiratory around. We're around when someone's trying to die, right? So,
Mhm.
right. So it really helped me, be really grounded and know how to handle when things come up. But when you work in the hospital, there's kind of like this wave of these people that are always coming in. It's like a circular door, you get them out and then they're back. So people were not actually getting better. This is my point of view, obviously, but it seemed that people were getting band-aid put back together and sent out the door only to come back. And the other thing, because I started the holistic lifestyle when I was pregnant, I was very upset with the food they were feeding them.
Mhm.
It didn't look healthy and it smelled like chemicals. And I'm thinking, why are they feeding this guy with diabetes pancakes for breakfast? Yeah. So
Now,
there's a lot of things that didn't add up.
now, what year was this that you were seeing this like disconnect between conventional health in the hospital and nutrition? Because I've seen it too growing up, where you have a patient in the hospital, but the food doesn't seem to be matching maybe the intended goal of helping this person recover from whatever condition it is that they had. So what year is this? I'm trying to just get an idea of how long ago
Right.
this was.
Well, it was the entire time, right?
Mm.
So I stopped in the hospital probably like 12 years ago.
Mhm.
So it was up to 12 years ago, but I'm pretty sure we could call some of my friends it hasn't changed, you know.
Mm, yeah, and I've noticed that like there like I'm in New York, so I do notice that there's been some attempt to create like healthier options. But for the most part, a lot of it is still very much the same food as you're talking about.
Processed, highly processed.
I know that your focus on cancer cure was directly inspired by your mother's battle with the disease. How do you integrate your personal understanding of cancer's impact with your naturopathic expertise to support patients and their families?
Yeah, so I did. I went to medical school thinking I wanted to treat cancer, and I made sure I made friends with the cancer doc and got on the cancer shift. And we do work with some people with cancer on a case by case basis. The reason I decided to not make that my main focus was when I got on that cancer shift, and there was all these great tools, right? There was vitamin C IVs and supplements and this and that and the other thing. But my personal experience was, and here I am all excited, right? That all of the patients that I went to talk to, they were miserable
Mm,
and they pretty much told me that they knew they were going to die.
mm,
And I was like, wait a minute. I don't think it matters how much vitamin C, we give these people. We're missing a huge piece of the puzzle here. And when I had, you have to do like your bachelor's and all that to get into medical school, I had learned about mind body medicine and the power of the
mm.
mind and even things like qigong and laughter in healing people. And I was a little bit shocked that it wasn't part of the program, you know?
Mhm.
And then I decided to go into other interests. I was like, I can't do this. Like, I'm like, there's something missing here.
I do think that is a prevalent thought process among a lot of people. It's like, so for me, I've been a vegan for almost 20 years now, 19 years. And one thing I hear a lot is people say to me, well, why do you eat healthy like that? You're gonna die someday at some point, right? And my usual rebuttal is like, well, yes, I obviously will die, but I do want to have a good quality of life into my later years. Like I don't want to be 80, 90, or let's go even like before that. I don't want to be 60, 70, like struggling with certain things. Like I want to have a good quality of life.
Exactly. I mean, I work with a lot of people that are in their 40s or their early 50s and they've already had a heart attack. Can you believe that?
Mm, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And no, I definitely believe it. And I do see like, a lot of people around me in their 20s and 30s, the way that they're eating now. And, a lot of I don't know. I'm a little concerned as well because the way a lot of people are eating now, especially post pandemic, like I would think that following a pandemic, a lot of people would have been eating healthier, and you have seen a healthier trend to an extent. But because, and maybe what I'm going to say might be controversial, but I do think there is precedence for it. I think because the way that we handled the pandemic was so medicinally centered that
Hmm.
we didn't really take the time to educate people on how their diet and the way that their lifestyle was impacting how they were recovering from the disease. I don't know if you saw a lot of that with your patients as well and the people that you worked with during the pandemic and then even post pandemic.
You know what was interesting about because I'm never medicine centric, right? It not to say I'll never, do a prescription, right? But we actually expanded our business during COVID. Like a lot of
Mm,
people found us during COVID because maybe they got sick with COVID, and they were told, well, like we can't do anything for you, right? And then people would search us out, and that I felt like it was a blessing in that way because it really lifted the veil on there's other things besides just the conventional method. And the big issue too was like all the fear, right? All the
Mhm.
fear was maybe making people scared and having more cortisol, which we know makes us sicker and more inflamed. And people were staying home and ordering delivery food,
Mhm.
and stuff. And I think that we haven't gotten off of that part, the ordering delivery food. I was so surprised. I took my son out to dinner the other night to an Indian restaurant we like to go to sometimes. There's literally no one else in the restaurant besides me and my
Mhm.
son. And I'm
Right.
thinking, how are they open? But they're just jamming up to go bags like constantly as we're sitting there. So I mean, it's good for the business to stay open, but I mean, people, why don't people go out to dinner? I don't know. I mean,
Mhm.
I thought that was kind of interesting.
It's interesting. I found a similar continuity with like Indian restaurants here in New York City as well. Like there was just like there was no real business happening, like commerce happening. They were just cooking food and then sending it out by food couriers. So this is interesting to hear that happen in your state as well.
Do you guys have those robots like doing the food deliveries?
I have not seen that yet, but I'm
Okay.
pretty sure I'm pretty sure it's not too far away.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
just saw those in Miami when I was down there for a seminar, and
Mhm.
I thought that was interesting. And I just saw one the other night over over here in the Phoenix area.
Mhm. So, you were talking about that mind body connection, and during your naturopathic education, you embraced mind body medicine, and you became a protege of a senior doctor in the field.
Yeah.
What was the most significant lesson or maybe paradigm shift you experienced during this mentorship, and how does it manifest in your practice today?
It's because believe it or not, I know you believe it, but that there's always, no matter what's going on, there's always a mental and emotional component, and even oftentimes a spiritual component. Like even somebody that's always twisting their ankle. There's something energetic about that.
Mhm.
It's not just posture, right? And this doctor, his name's Dr. John Dye. Like you dye your hair, and he would get the patients that people didn't know what to do with. Like they just did not know
Mhm.
what to do with. And he would get all, kind of like the trouble patients. We don't know what to do here patients. And he was so good with them, but we always did some component of mind body medicine. And it could kind of like turn somebody's like almost like neurotic fixation, if that was the case, from like a 10 to a 2 in one session.
Mhm.
So it was efficient. And then you can imagine if you just like kind of got that relief and could see other ways of living your life, that your inflammation would go down, your stress would go down, and everything would be able to heal better no matter what it was.
What do you say to the person who's maybe on the fence about the approach that you have towards care and treatment, right? Because, the average person probably comes in and says, "Hey," or maybe not an average person, but a person who's accustomed to conventional medicine says, "Hey, I'm just coming in here for, some pill to help me with my
Right.
issue or my problem." What do you say to the person that is on the fence? Like if you had to break down the process, and I know that there's different conditions, but if you had to break down the
Right.
process of healing for that person, what does that sound and look like?
Well, I mean, the obvious thing is like what they've been doing and what they've been getting probably isn't working, and that's why they're there, right?
Mhm.
And I'm very much on treating the terrain and the cause, and not the symptoms. And there is a lot of natural doctors and functional doctors that are just kind of using supplements like in the conventional medicine, like prescribing supplements. And it's nice to have symptom relief, but that's like, I would say that's like having vacation at the truck stop.
Mhm.
It's not it's not the destination. I would say there is no golden ticket, right? There is no magic supplement that is going to take away, you know, what working on the systems can do, right? There is not
Uh-huh.
even it's not even an NAD IV, guys, or a peptide. I'm sorry. Sometimes that's like putting perfume on a pig in the nicest way
Mm,
possible, right? It's like you got to start with the foundations and then you put these things on top of it like hormones and peptides and anti-aging supplements and stuff like that. So we're a system of systems. And this is divinely made. I mean, it's incredible, and that's why I always say
yeah.
about they love to squish down the cholesterol. Well, your liver makes pretty much all your cholesterol. And I think that your liver knows how much cholesterol your body needs more than what the American Medical Association decides to tell you based on fill in the blank drug that they're making trillions of dollars a year from,
Uh-huh.
and cholesterol is actually a repair molecule, right? And I'm sure that you've done your research. All of our sex hormones are built on a backbone of cholesterol. Our
Mm,
brain loves cholesterol, and we've all seen that massive increase in dementia over the last 10, 15 years, right? Vitamin D, everyone's low in vitamin D. That's built on cholesterol, and so just focusing on squishing that cholesterol down. Well, you could see the side effects of that because there's all these benefits to cholesterol, but why does it seem high? And is it really high? That's the other question, right? But if you go upstream, it usually starts with stress. It starts with
mm,
stress and emotions, and then there's grief, which comes up sometimes, and that's really strong stress and emotions. And then that goes down and raises cortisol, which is the stress hormone. And we don't want to demonize any of these molecules because they need to be in our body for us to be alive. It's all about balance. And that can go down and increase glucose, which is our blood sugar. So we haven't put any food in our mouth yet, but we've already raised our glucose. And that's from the mind. And that's why you can't ignore this nervous system reset, this mind body medicine component, right? Because I've seen people so many times, I mean, just get amazing, like get off their blood pressure meds, stop having palpitations, like get energy, lose weight, you name it. And then they go back into their old coping mechanisms. Or
uh-huh.
I work with a lot of people that are maybe workaholics, and so maybe they feel 20 years younger. So then they go and they massively expand their projects or their
Uh-huh.
business, and then they work themselves into being sick again. So this is where that mental emotional is so important, right? And you can't just do mental and then eat badly, and you can't
Yeah.
eat good and then be a stress case, right? Do you see how and
Yeah.
there's so many more components to it, but it's crazy because in my
Yeah.
program, if you just buzz right through it, it's 2 months, and usually people feel 20 years younger, and they can, rewind their pre-diabetes, and their diabetes and their blood pressure and wean off of meds. But the best thing is, it's nice to see those numbers, right, in that
Uh-huh.
imaging. But the best thing is they feel it, right? So they're 75 years old out golfing every day, or all of this stuff, and that's the best part because all of us through holistic living and healing for real. And you've got to make it a standard, right? It's not like, oh, I'm going to do this detox and then go back to the drive through. It's like, you've just kind of got to raise the standard for how you're going to live
Mm,
if aging well is important to you, right?
yeah.
It's like anything that we're going to put into our body or our energy field. So that goes with, what am I watching for entertainment? What am I listening to for entertainment? But like, what am I putting into my mouth, or who am I keeping for company? And I always say, is this going to raise my vibration or lower my
Mm-hmm.
vibration? And if you just pause and listen to yourself, you always know, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Yep.
so you should just pause and then listen to yourself and not make excuses to abuse yourself because you deserve better than that.
Mm.
That was kind of a
Now,
rant. I don't even know if I answered your question.
no, that's fine. That's perfect. I've noticed that you've gotten the moniker Dr. Mel, and you're playfully Dr. Mel, medicine woman. What does this moniker signify to you, and how does it encapsulate your unique approach to healing and patient care?
Well, I am accessible. I'm receptive. I like connecting, like really connecting
Mm,
with my patients, and making a judgment-free zone because we have to get real if we want to heal for real, right? We can't be pretending like, oh, this is okay, whatever this is, midnight snack attack is or whatever.
mm,
But I am going to push you off a cliff if you need it.
Mm.
but I'll jump with you. I'll jump with you, but like we got to go, So that's kind of like I'm playful, I'm feisty, I have a lot of fire energy. I've got 5 brothers. Um
Mhm.
so I'm loving, but I'm direct, and I'm a little bit intense.
Yeah. And in your practice, how do you balance evidence-based naturopathic treatments with the more intuitive and experiential aspects of, mind-body medicine?
Okay, well, there actually is a lot of evidence-based stuff on this mind-body medicine. So I'm a super
Mhm.
nerd, so I'm constantly doing trainings, going to seminars, meeting new mentors and stuff like that. So then I have like this bank, right, of things. And then when you get with the person, because there's kind of like, okay, this is the base model that everybody needs. Like nobody can skip the detox or skip the gut healing, but then there's certain things that, maybe this person has terrible insomnia or crippling anxiety or whatever it is. And then we have to find those missing spots and like fine tune it to them. And you have this bank of knowledge, right? Through your work, through your studies. And then you just kind of lean into being present with the person of which tools are we going to pull extra for this person, right?
Mhm.
And usually it works amazing. My thing is it holistic? Is it effective? And is it safe? And if it meets
Mhm.
those 3 things, I'm probably in. I'm in on it, but I don't like giving people stuff and going, "Well, it should work," I like giving people things that I have seen clinically give the results, in
Mhm.
a reasonable amount of time.
Yeah. And, many people struggle with integrating holistic practices into their busy life. What are
Mhm.
some, foundational steps or mindsets you recommend for clients looking to embark on a holistic health journey?
The first thing I always say is if you're eating like a standard American diet, there's no shame in it, right? But we have to clean up the diet, and the first thing to do is just stop going to the drive-throughs. If you're hitting fast food, cut out the fast food. Let's just start there, right? Because it's going to feel overwhelming if you try to do everything at once. Okay, cut out the fast food. Then you wanna cut out the processed food, like, does it come in a bag, in a box? Does it have a
Mhm.
long paragraph explaining what it is and you don't know what some of that stuff is, right? There's an
Mhm.
app, Bobby approved, that a lot of the clients like using that to help them pick what's good. And then I have everybody eat less often because we have a problem with insulin resistance these days, right? So one of the keys is we
Mhm.
need to wean down that insulin resistance. So one of the great that's why people do so well with the intermittent fasting, right? That helps with the
Mhm.
insulin resistance. So most of my clients eat 2 meals a day, and we always want to try, and this is going to be a mind problem for a lot of people. We want to be done eating by the time the sun goes down
Mhm.
because we want to kind of go with the rhythm of the sun. So when the sun goes down, we want to be done eating. We don't want to be working out. We don't want to be doing any meetings and work that's going to be stressing us. And I know it's not always going to work out that way, but like that's the goal. Like I always say, oh, I want to go to the gym every day, and then if I make it 4 times a week, I'm happy. But my intention is to get there every day, and then life happens, right? So then you always want to aim higher. Like I always have numbers for the hemoglobin A1C that we want. But once we get there, then we're going to want a better one. So,
Mhm.
but it's got to start with the nutrition, less meals, less processed, getting done early. And then if you get done eating early, you're probably not going to have that heartburn when you try to go to bed, right? Or some people get weird things with the blood sugar happening if they eat late and that wakes them up in the middle of the night. So it's going to have all these other benefits. You're probably going to sleep better. And that's the
Mhm.
best place to start. And then get outside. Even if you live in a city, go to the park, get that nature in because that's going to be so very grounding. And then just little things like this, listen to a podcast like this so that you can get ideas. I get reminded about things, right? Like I just got back into bee pollen. I was into bee pollen like 20 years ago, and then I just spaced out on it. And now I love taking my bee pollen every
Mhm.
morning because things circle back in. So keep educating yourself, be open. Don't be hard on yourself because it's so
Mhm.
hard to start new habits, right? So it's normal to fall off. That's human nature. Don't get down about it. Just get back on and try again and see what works for you. Maybe eating less often makes your life easier. So it's easier for you to cook
Mhm.
at home. Or maybe you find a natural meal prep company in your area and you can support a local business and it makes your life easier. And then you don't get your stomach weird from hitting that drive through. Like there's just little things like that. You just got to start with like one thing at a time. Try to go to bed before 10 p.m. Sleep is amazing for you. It's a pillar of health.
Yeah. You know, I wonder as well if the same thing is true on the other side, right? You said not to be hard on yourself. Like, is it also maybe also true, as you've seen with some clients, that when they're not at least disciplined enough with themselves, that,
Exactly.
there's also that fall off as well.
Yes. Yeah, and there's like all those flavors of patience, right? So there's the one that's super hard on themselves, and neurotic. So then they're raising their cortisol by like making sure they have to relax, that sort of thing.
Hmm.
But yeah, we have to be disciplined because it's just about raising the standard, right? And sometimes it's hard to do that if you're feeling depressed, if you're inflamed because you haven't been eating a healthy diet. It's going to be really hard to get started. The best thing is to do some kind of detox because that's going to disinflame the whole body. That's going to disinflame the brain. That's going to improve your mood, right?
Hmm.
And then you'll have the motivation to take more action. So sometimes you just need a nice little detox to reset everything. And I mean, I've seen it just change people's moods completely in 3 days. I mean, it can be such a blessing if done, correctly and safely.
What kind of like detox methods would you incorporate with, someone who's trying to, pretty much reset their entire life, right? From
Right.
the mental
Right.
aspect, physical, like what type of detox methods would you incorporate?
Yeah, well, I always have everyone do this herbal detox that we have because it's easy and it's efficient, right? And I love that, right? Because then people feel the wins, they feel more energy, they feel less inflamed, their blood pressure is getting better, right? And then after doing that for a few weeks, then I introduce the nutritional detox, right? And I'll have a list of, I think it's like 12 things that are more inflammatory that I want people to take out for 2 weeks. Well, now if we're already feeling better, we might be less attached to taking those foods that we have to take out. And it's only for 2 weeks, but most people
Hmm.
feel so good that they keep it out for longer, right? So if it's doing it in these phases, right? And then after that, I have people work on their gut because all of our guts are inflamed, right? And if you're a person that's had digestive stuff, like you're going to get all kinds of wins. But even if you don't have digestive stuff, this gut inflammation leaks out and then causes inflammation in the whole body. So that could be raising your blood pressure or causing plaque in your arteries and stuff like that. But we start with that, and just like I said, we do a nervous system reset together once a week. The people that work with me in every class, we practice gratitude because you got to wash your mind, right? Because it's weird, but like complaining and being negative can be addictive, and it can be like a bad habit, and we just kind
Hmm.
of get on this hamster wheel with it, right? So then
Yeah.
it sounds really nerdy, but I have everyone and have them do it with their coaches too. Like, what are you grateful for today? Three things every day at the beginning of the day. And it can't be like your dog, your spouse, and your house every day because that's boring and you're not
Mm.
you're not being creative. And yeah, I mean everything you see, it's like everything is born out of this attitude of gratitude. It sounds nerdy, but it's real. And then on the flip side, at the end of the day, think of three things that went well.
Mm.
And then when you get really good at it, you can say, well, why did they went well? What was well about it? And then you can even flip it around like, hey, like, well, the waitress came in kind of cranky, right? But then we were really sweet to her. And then she ended up like opening up and being really sweet with us. So then you can take things that could have been something to complain about and switch it around. And this will just improve everything in your life. And it's also too with TV, with doom scrolling. These are big ones these days, right? So be your own toddler, limit your screen time, and just be mindful about how that's affecting your energy.
Yeah. I know that connection is also a core value for you. How do you, foster a strong sense of connection with your
Mm.
clients, and why do you believe it's crucial for their healing process?
I just feel like modern society, at least, here we're American, right? It's kind of isolated. There's not a lot of community. And I believe that people forever lived in communities and they supported each other. And that's one of the reasons it's so hard because you're having to feel all all the roles of a village for yourself,
Mhm.
you know, and that's why people are struggling. And a lot of people, you know, maybe our childhood wasn't easy, so we had to kind of grow up really, really young, right? And then
Yeah.
we've just this is what I say, is it possible, XYZ patient, that you've been living low key in survival mode for decades?
Yeah.
And that's kinda how I bring in the mind body medicine thing. You know, and they go, "Yes, definitely. That totally that
Mm.
hits," you know? And so then I bring in the idea about, you know, things that we might wanna work on and stuff like that, right? But that if you've been living, you know, most of us, maybe most of us have been living in survival mode for decades, right? So to
Right.
create a safe, loving space where someone can kinda and feel heard and feel seen and feel taken care of course they're gonna heal better, right?
You know, you said something that was really interesting just now about how, like, pretty much almost anything can be addictive, right? In terms of, you know, certain behaviors, certain
Oh,
attitudes. So just like the same way that you can implement positive behaviors and they become something that you consistently do, you know, you do the same thing on the negative end of things. And, you know, I've been vulnerable on this podcast about, you know, my struggles with, you know, mental health and suicidality as well. And how there are some days, even I would say even up until a couple of days ago, you know, I'm in a good place mentally, I'm feeling okay. And then I go back into like suicidal thinking again. And, you know, I'm back into this thing of making plans and stuff like that. And so, you know, it gets to a point where it gets frustrating, and I had to be vulnerable with myself to be like, yo, like my mental health is not where I would like it to be, you know? So, you know, I would like to also like speak on that of, you know, how people get into these addictive behaviors in terms of like negative things,
mhm.
and what are like holistic ways of maybe approaching that to finally get to a point of like real healing.
Yeah, and again, I don't wanna sound like a broken record, but it's you've gotta detox. You've gotta disinflame, right? Yes, ketamine and psychedelics can really turn the stuff around quickly, but you're not gonna get that longevity if you don't hit the foundation with that detox, that disinflame, and the gut, and the community too. I'm sure that you feel better when you're connecting with someone and you're feeling seen and heard and accepted, right?
Yeah.
I think that those are, like, just the key pieces there. Obviously,
Yeah.
the gut's really important. There's a great probiotic. I love just if you want to scratch it down and do some research, BPC 157
Uh-huh.
peptide. Two things on that. Heals the entire GI tract from
Mm,
esophagus to rectum. We know GI tract is important, right? And get this, it bypasses the blood-brain barrier and is anti-inflammatory for the brain.
mm,
Doesn't that sound good? And it's anti-inflammatory for the body. Some people take it that have like a wonky elbow or whatever, but that might be a nice peptide to add in. Like if you were like, oh, maybe I want to do something, maybe like a little detox, a little gut kit, a
yeah.
little gut healing, brain healing peptide. I think that would might be something to lean into, you know, for someone that's working on, I mean, probably for everybody. I mean, we should probably all be
Mhm.
working on our mental health and our
Oh
inflammation.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, growing up, you know, I'm 35 now, but I remember hearing a lot about, you know, eating properly and, you know, exercising, right? And those seem
Oh,
to be
that's
like the
great.
two, yeah, those seem to be like the two variables that were always talked about. And
Yeah.
I would say within the last 10 to 15 years, and, you know, I know you've been in this field a bit longer. Um, you can tell me if you've noticed that there's been a drastic shift in terms of the way that we define health or look at health, right? Because I had Dr. DeCillo on recently, and you know she kind of referenced the World Health Organization's 1948 definition of health, which talks about looking at the entire person. Um, and so I don't know if you've seen a similar shift where people are now going more towards a holistic way of dealing with things, and realizing that they need to take care of their mental health. They need to look at the spiritual side of things. They need to exercise, you know, eat properly. So I don't know if you've been seeing more of that
Oh,
within the
yeah.
current zeitgeist.
I love it. I love it. Because like when I started doing this like 12 years ago, people would be like, a natural what doctor? They didn't even know what a naturopathic doctor was.
Hmm.
Trying to get someone to detox was a real hard sell, right? And now everyone
Hmm.
kind of knows they need to detox, like just these little changes like this. Like I've been drinking mushroom coffee for like 12 years, but now everybody drinks mushroom coffee. Like it's
Hmm.
just there is like this awakening to like wanting to be healthier, trying anything. Now they got yoga at every gym, you know? I mean, that was kind
Hmm.
of hard to find 12 years ago, right?
Hmm.
So there is like this opening in society where and there still are a lot of people that haven't been exposed to this, right? And they're just in the conventional method. I have this, give me a pill or surgery or a shot, right?
Hmm.
But I see it growing every day, and some of it is the social media, YouTube, like getting more information out there, and that way people that are looking for answers can find them. I mean, when I was growing up, I mean, I don't know if it's the same when you were growing up. You're a little bit younger than me. I had to look through the World Book encyclopedias if I wanted to know like to know about something,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? Or you just want, I remember wondering, I wonder how you change the oil in a car. Like, and just had no idea and didn't know where to go with that. Got to find somebody's
Yeah.
uncle or something, and now
Oh man.
everything's accessible too. And people are naturally curious. But I
Hmm.
definitely see a shift in the energy, like, about being mindful, about being present, about, detoxing. And I think it's only going to get better. And I'm actually, not getting political, but I'm very happy about a lot of the things that RFK Jr. has done because it's a lot of stuff that I've been saying for decades. Like, well, why do we do that? Like, why do we feed the kids that, or why do we do
Hmm.
this? And so I like, because even with some of these bigger scale things, like so, for instance, this is my dream. Let's see if it happens. Maybe we can manifest it. That we take the seed oils out of the marketplace, right? Because right now
Yeah.
that's one of the main problems with eating out is that everything's cooked in seed oil and that's going to
Mm.
push everything to the inflammatory side, right? So even if I think I'm being such a good girl and I'm having my wild caught whitefish with broccoli and all of it's cooked in seed oil, well then I just kind of threw that all to the inflammatory bothering my body system side of things. And I think a lot of people don't even know about that, but could you imagine if we just took that out of the equation, like how much healthier the
Yeah.
American people would be?
Yeah.
That would be a blessing. Let's manifest
Yeah.
that. That'd be great.
Yeah. And it's interesting. I always tell people, and we've probably heard this statement a lot about a broken clock being right twice a day, right?
Oh, true.
Like,
That's true.
right. I think about RFK, and I I do want this podcast to survive, right? But I'm gonna say something about him. Like there are some things that he is doing, and saying that I do agree with. I I'm not gonna lie, I don't agree with his perspective on or the change in the food like pyramid and the way that they're going about that. Like there's been an obvious increase in the intake of meat and stuff like that on the new food pyramid. But for the most part, like there's some things, and I am familiar with some of his health perspectives, even prior to him, taking some political position within this cabinet. But yeah, so I do agree with you that there are some things that I think that he's doing that are causing Americans to look at health a little bit differently. So I
Uh,
do think that's a good thing.
I hope he gets those seed oils out of there. And my son told me he's 22 now. He said,
Yeah.
the seed oils aren't even cheap. They're cheap because they're subsidized by the
Mm,
government. So I'm like, okay,
yeah.
well, here seems like a great way to save money and get get some toxic food out of there, right?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Now, looking ahead, what are your aspirations for the future of holistic and mind-body medicine? Right? How do you see yourself contributing to its evolution?
Yeah. Well, I mean, we're getting a lot of wins on people, they're aging like 40, 50, 60, 70. And we're really unwinding like metabolic and cardiovascular diseases in a short period of time. So
Mhm.
right now I'm saying, okay, and this is systems based, this is not a magic supplement or a magic treatment, right? And if more and more people do this, we can change the trajectory of how we age, right? We can age with vitality and no bucket of pills, no doctor dates, just
Mhm.
enjoying and being present, So what if getting older just meant you were wiser
Yeah.
and wealthier and it didn't mean you were a hot mess, right? Like and literally I keep seeing this repeatable, and I would love to see that change for like our parents, if they
Yeah.
could age better than our grandparents, and our generation can definitely open up to that and age well, right? For me too, my son is on the spectrum too.
Yeah.
So that is a passion of mine too, is creating community for these people that are, quote unquote, on the spectrum or neurodivergent, and their parents, because that's a rough island of one too,
Yeah.
right? That needs more community. And just like everyone else, we all do better with an anti-inflammatory diet and being disinflamed and being in nature and all of that. So for the future, for me, I'd like to get more involved in that, because I did a lot of this as an island of one. And I don't know if you know that I actually stressed myself into pre-diabetes. So,
Yeah.
yeah, that's why I'm so passionate. No one gets to work with me without learning how to balance their glucose and their insulin, because I
Yeah.
was like, oh, excuse me, no, on this, and let's unwind this. And then I did a deep dive on that, and I found it was a super issue for everybody. And that is a cornerstone of our work, is like getting that glucose and insulin into balance.
Yeah. Well, Dr. Melanie Icard, I just want to thank you for joining us, and also just, being flexible as well. And I wanted to share with our audience, one, where they can work with you, maybe which website they can reach out to as well. And then even on social media, if they just want to reach out and just connect.
Yeah, I'm on most social medias. I just started getting on YouTube, so I'll be putting more on there. And that the YouTube is it's Dr. Mel, it's Dr. Mel. And then
Yeah.
everywhere else, like I'm on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and it's Dr. Mel Holistic with a HOL, Holistic. And we
Yeah.
do have a website. If you go to my website, it's Dr. Melanie Icard, like my name here.com. We have our complimentary masterclass. If you're like, oh, I'm interested in that biohacked heart blueprint, like how can I get healthier with my cardiovascular and metabolic health? Explains our whole system, basically the wins that other people are getting, so you can get an idea about that. And we also do a live webinar once or twice a month, and there should be a link on the website for that too. That's usually free, so you can jump in, learn some stuff you didn't know, and even ask some questions if we have enough time.
Well, again, thank you so much for, just agreeing to be on our podcast. And thank you, audience, for tuning in. And this is Stefan Leslie, just reminding you that choosing health is about choosing power, possibility, and purpose.
This is week 48 of 52 choices. This week, try ending one shower with 30 to 60 seconds of cold water, or alternate 1 minute warm, 30 seconds cold for a few rounds. Cold exposure can improve circulation, reduce muscle soreness, and boost alertness by activating the body's stress response systems in a controlled way. Research published in the European Journal of Applied Physiology shows cold exposure can stimulate the release of norepinephrine, a hormone linked to improve focus and mood. Studies in PLOS-1 also found that people who finished showers with cold water reported increased energy levels and fewer sick days. 1 minute, once a week, a small shot that can wake up your whole system.